Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Pruitt, welcome to the committee. Let me start by asking unanimous consent to put 3 documents in the record. One is a report entitled Abandoning Science Advice by the Center for Science and Democracy, and with it are 2 internal documents from the EPA that chronicle how political appointees are stacking the scientific advisory committees with industry representatives, in this case, the Clean Air Scientific Advisory Committee.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Pruitt, you were confirmed about a year ago in February, and about a year before that, in February of 2016, you went on a radio talk show at a radio station called KFAQ in Tulsa. The show's host is a man named Pat Campbell. I don't know if you remember that.
I appeared on that program a few times, so I don't remember the particular program you're referencing. But
well, the reason that I mention it is that we have a transcript of the interview that you provided, and I don't know if this is what you had in mind when you said you were interested in reaching common ground, but I can assure you that there are a great many Americans who share the concerns that you expressed in that interview. The first one is this one. You told Mr. Campbell, I believe that Donald Trump in the White House would be more abusive to the Constitution than Barack Obama. And that's saying a lot. Do you recall saying that?
I don't, Senator.
Would you?
And I don't echo that today at all.
I guess not.
Given your comments about hubris, I'm going to say that you're probably not a big Trump supporter.
We have, I'm having technical difficulties. So anyway, that was one statement. Then the interview continued, and Mr. Campbell said the following: everything that we loathe and detest about Barack Obama and the abuses of power, Donald Trump is the same thing, except he's our bully. Your answer to that? That's right. As the interview continued, Mr. Campbell talked about his dad, who, as I recall from the interview, was a veteran and was now elderly, had served our country. And Mr. Campbell said, I had a conversation with my dad not long ago, and he went on to say he summed up Donald Trump in one word. He said, this is Mr. Campbell referring to his dad, he said, he's dangerous. You said, you know, your dad is very astute. We're going to hear from the President tonight. I think the President is going to be speaking to a country in which millions of people share your concerns of February 4th, 2016, about a president who you believed then would be abusive to the Constitution, a bully, and dangerous. In my minute remaining, I'd like to ask you about your schedule, because you have an unusual propensity for not releasing what's going on your schedule. I direct you to Friday, May 5th, when you spent the day in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That night, you were scheduled to give a keynote address at a fundraiser for the Oklahoma Republican Party. Because of the Hatch Act, you canceled that event. You're not allowed to go and do fundraising for parties in the position that you are in. That was the original reason for your trip to Tulsa that day. The only thing that shows on your schedule for that day is lunch with a guy named Sam Wade. It seems to me like it's an awful long way to go at taxpayer expense to Tulsa for lunch with one guy. Could you please let us know what all else you did that day? Specifically, did you go to the Oklahoma Republican Party fundraiser? And because my time is up, that can be a question for the record. Thank you. 2 minutes is short, so I'll try to be as quick as I can. I mentioned the May 5th day that you were going down to speak to the Republican fundraiser in Oklahoma. Do you recall off the top of your head right now whether you actually went to that? Do you remember what that day was for you?
I did not attend, Senator. We did, in fact, receive an ethics review of that, and I was actually authorized to go, but when the event was publicized, they did it incorrectly. And
that's when tell us what you actually did that day?
I'm sorry?
Would you tell us what you actually did that day and unblock your schedule?
Yeah, we'll provide the information pursuant to the
Unredacted.
Schedule. That's something that we'll coordinate with this body.
Okay, because I don't see why you'd block out parts of your schedule, and that's all we have is the lunch.
And again, Senator, I did not attend that event, so the day could have been rescheduled entirely as far as the activities that day.
But you'd never know it because it's all redacted and blacked out. It's just bizarre that we don't see that.
We'll look and see how productive we were that day.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
The second thing is that I had a request into you regarding the EPA scientists who were instructed not to speak and then withdrew themselves from the speaking role at the Narragansett Bay conference. You may recall that because it kicked up a big fuss in my area, and it even kicked up quite a national fuss as well because it was a patent case of scientists being told not to speak about something that they'd worked on for years. What you answered in response to our questions about that was, this will not happen again. And I'm delighted that this will not happen again. I think you're right that it should not happen again. What we have not been given is any explanation of how it happened. Who told whom what? Could you please, I mean, I don't know why this is hard to get an answer, but will you guarantee that you will tell us how that happened? And give us an actual explanation, looking back at why this happened, who told who what were the email chains, whatever the story was, let's get it out there.
And Senator, yes, in response to your other question, I'm advised by staff that that they did communicate to your office that I did not attend that event that you asked about. So,
great. So now the question boils down to unblocking your schedule for that day.
We'll work on those issues.
Thank you.
Well, I'll take that as a very soft yes.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse.